Since those I movies have managed to scare so many people, here's some footage from my own movie, The I 4. Am I scaring you yet? Am I getting under your skin? Hmm? Are you proud of me now, Dad? I'm joking. I don't need my dad's approval. He's buried in the basement too.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
The I 2 follows a young woman who makes an attempt to take her own life. Afterwards, she starts seeing dead people everywhere, only in this movie they totally know that they're dead, and one of them wants something that's inside her. By the way, I nearly forgot to mention this, but the I 2 is mostly in the Chinese language with a few English lines throughout, so if you don't like reading subtitles, then you might not care for this movie. Something else that might make or break this movie for some people is that the main character, along with being mentally unstable, is fairly unlikable. Personally, I'm okay with this. I feel like it gives the story a darker edge, and it doesn't feel unintentional, like it never feels like the film is trying to cast a positive light on this woman. There's also a lot of drama in this movie, and I feel like it's fairly well done despite the unlikability of the main character, and it features a lot of twists and turns as she's working to find out the motivations of this spirit that's been stalking her. Okay, while I've been reviewing this movie, I nearly forgot to address the sort of elephant in the room. When I looked up reviews for this movie, there were people who complained about the fact that this movie has nothing to do with the first eye and that it has nothing to do with eyes. It is related due to the fact that it follows a main character who can see the dead, and I feel like the title of these movies refers to the curse of being able to see the dead. Either that or it could be like most of the Hellraiser sequels where they wrote a script for a completely different movie and then turned it into an I sequel. I have no idea. The biggest compliment that I can give this movie is that it does deliver some very strong scares. The one that stands out the most to me, and I'm not going to spoil when it happens, is this one scene involving two people who were apparently involved in a murder-suicide. It's extremely disturbing and terrifying, and it utilizes some pretty impressive practical effects. Now, as some of you may remember, a couple of years back I listed this film as one of my top 5 underrated sequels, and honestly I would like to detract that statement after revisiting it. I'm not going to give away any spoilers right away, but the ending just completely took me out of the movie. It just honestly doesn't make any sense, and I was honestly almost going to excuse that ending, thinking, well, maybe since the character isn't completely right in the head, you could interpret this as something that's just happening in her imagination, but the only problem with that statement is that this isn't an art house film. Even though it is a fictional story that involves the supernatural, it is more or less grounded in reality, except for when it gets to the ending. Imagine if in The Sixth Sense it turned out that the reason the little boy could see the dead was because he traveled to Oz and the Wicked Witch put a curse on him. That would have been less stupid than the ending of the I 2. I am going to get into spoilers in just a moment, but before that I would like to give you my final thoughts. I would say that in spite of its nonsensical ending, the I 2 is still worth watching at least once. If you're interested in seeing a scary ghost story with an interesting mystery to solve, and you're not too bothered by the fact that the lead character isn't someone that you can root for, then this film does come recommended. Go ahead and check it out. Now for some spoilers. First of all, the whole reason this woman is being followed by a ghost is because she's pregnant, and she was pregnant at the time that she tried to kill herself, which is apparently why she can see the dead. But the reason the ghost is following her is because she wants to be reborn in her baby. There's this entire sequence during the final act of the movie which I remembered from the first time I watched the I-2, but somehow I didn't recognize at the time how stupid it was. I must have been doing drugs or something. But there's an entire sequence where the main character is at the hospital ready to have her baby, but she doesn't want the ghost woman to be reborn in her baby, so over and over again she climbs up to the very top of the hospital and jumps off the roof, but she's unable to die because the ghost won't let her. Apparently, when women become pregnant, they're immortal. I mean, what about that woman who got killed by the Manson family, you may ask? She's still fine. Her child's fine. That never happened. Her ghost wasn't going to let them kill her. I mean, that's just how it works. Shut up. Also, despite the fact that this lead character is clearly mentally unstable, the hospital workers just hand her baby right over to her, and that bothers me. I mean, I'll buy that they didn't think she was trying to jump off the building since she is still able to walk around. Let's assume that they didn't have cameras outside, but there has been more than one occasion before this where she has tried to kill herself and people found out about it. And not only that, but she was freaking out in public whenever she saw dead people. And when the hospital workers find her, you know, she's just wandering around outside the building with cuts and bruises on her. But no, let's go ahead and hand the baby over to this woman. She'll be fine. It's alright.